Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to Rhode Island Kids Count's virtual meet and greet with the candidates for Rhode Island Governor. I am Paige Parks, Executive Director of Rhode Island Kids Count. And for those unfamiliar with our work, Rhode Island Kids Count is a statewide children's policy and advocacy organization that works to advance equitable policies that improve children's lives and eliminate disparities by bringing together the power of data, advocacy, and civic action. The meet and greet sessions that we're hosting are designed to be an opportunity for you to hear directly from the gubernatorial candidates about kids' issues. All candidates that met the 1,000 signature threshold to qualify for the ballot were invited to participate in a virtual meet and greet and to also complete a survey about their plans for addressing the most pressing issues for kids and families. We are thrilled that four of the candidates have taken us up on that offer to speak with you. And I am thrilled to welcome you to today's session with Ken Block. The format for the next 30 minutes is Mr. Block will have up to 5 minutes to introduce himself. Then I have two prepared questions I will be asking to every candidate, and then we open the floor to you. So at the bottom of your Zoom screen is a Q&A button. It may be right at the bottom or it may be hidden in a button that has three dots on the bottom of your screen. If you click that button, you should be able to see Q&A as one of the options. Please submit your questions there and please include your name and town if you feel comfortable. We cannot see your faces because of the webinar format, but we can still see your reaction. So please use the reaction button at the bottom of your screen to give us some real-time feedback on what you are hearing. So with that, I'd like to welcome Ken Block. Mr. Block, if you could please introduce yourself to the Zoom room and you'll have 5 minutes for your introduction.
Very nice. Thank you so much, and welcome everybody. My name is Ken Block. I am running for governor of Rhode Island for the third time. I'm running as an independent candidate this time. And the independent piece of it is part of a journey that I've been on, trying to figure out politically where I fit. When I first got into politics back in 2008 and 9, I was looking for a political answer to Rhode Island's problems, and I didn't like what I thought at the time was really awful partisanship. We're in a much worse place for partisanship today than we were back in 2008, 2009. And I actually started a new political party, a centrist political party, looking for an answer to how to practice politics in the middle. And over the course of the last 16 years, uh, I've been trying to figure it out. And this year, running as an independent makes the most sense for me. I don't naturally slot in as either right or left when it comes to ideology. Uh, I evaluate each issue on its merits and I try to apply the fairest eye that I can to understand if there's a problem to be fixed, what the fix might actually be. So as I looked to make a difference politically, and one of the first things that I focused on in 2008, 2009, 2010 was education. Uh, I believe that done right, education is a great equalizer in our society, and it helps to bring people up who are in a lower socioeconomic situation. It solves a great many problems, and unfortunately, our school systems in Rhode Island, generally speaking, particularly the urban ones, struggle. They struggle to get the outcomes that we all need, and as a result, we struggle with poverty in this state. We have substantial poverty. There are well-documented links between poverty and poor educational outcomes going in both directions. Poor educational outcomes can lead to poverty, and poverty can lead to poor educational outcomes. In some cases, it's a chicken and the egg type situation. And the work that you do here and what you advocate for, the early educational piece of it, is incredibly important and is one crucial piece because if you don't get the early childhood education right, the crucial K for three is not likely to be as good as it might be. And unfortunately, even with a lot of high quality early education, our K through three performance problems in our public schools, particularly in the urban districts, are really problematic. And we have to deal with it. And what's really different with me is when I tell you that I want to deal with it, I'm going to deal with it as governor. I view it as a moral imperative for us to do a better job educating, especially our most disadvantaged student populations. And what we're doing right now, I believe it's wrong in every possible way. So that's just a little bit of me personally and how I find myself talking to you here today. Uh, the biggest factor in me talking to you today was the fact that my wife said, "Okay, I could run." This was not something that I thought I would be doing ever again because Jen was pretty hard against any other political adventures for me. Uh, and she did change her mind about it. I had nothing to do with it with some friends. And so I'm thankful to have the opportunity, and I don't want to squander it because I'm confident this is the last go round that I'm going to have. So I come here today to answer your questions as fully as I am able. I do have a lot of background in the educational issues because it's an area that I want to fix in particular. Uh, Other little bits of background really quickly about me. I own a software engineering business. We built the country's first food stamp debit card system for the state of Texas, the Lone Star card system. I have done a lot of work in waste and fraud analytics. I'm an expert in voter data. And as a result of that and a whole adventure, Time Magazine has named me a, defender of democracy. And if someone wants to ask a question about that, I'm happy to talk about that as well. So I'm going to end just before the 5 minutes are up, and I'm ready to take the first question.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Block. So, as a reminder to folks, I'm going to ask two questions now that have been prepared in advance, but we encourage you to also submit your questions. So, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, or you may also have your Q&A button underneath the three dots at the bottom. So, the first question, you mentioned poverty, and that is what our first question is centered on. So, poverty is connected to every indicator in the Rhode Island Kids Count Fact Book. In 2024, about 1 in 6, or 16.3%, which is about a little more than 32,500 of Rhode Island's children, lived in poverty. In June of this year, the Annie E. Casey Foundation reported that between 2019 and 2025, Rhode Island had the largest decline in children's economic well being of any state. As governor, what concrete steps will you take to improve the economic well being of Rhode Island's children and families? And do you believe Rhode Island can end child poverty?
I'm going to start by taking the end of your question first. Can Rhode Island end child poverty? Probably not in its entirety, but I believe that we can take a very large bite out of that problem. And I say that with confidence because there are a number of things that we have to solve here to really address the issues that drive poverty. And I've already touched on one heavily, and I'm going to keep coming back to it again. Uh, a better educational outcome is going to be a great predictor of future economic success, or at a bare minimum, being better off than people would have been without a good education. So that is one piece of it. The second piece of it is we have to turn our economy around because we don't have tremendous opportunities. And for a lot of people who are listening to me right now, you're probably experienced the same issue that I've experienced with my two grown educated children, and they both of them have taken jobs outside of Rhode Island's borders. And it's a problem that I hear over and over again. And it's a problem that we have to solve. One of our biggest exports are our educated children. So while they're not the topic of conversation for what we're and what your mission is today, it is indicative of a bigger issue that we have with our economy, and that's that the jobs that our young educated people want and need aren't here anywhere near the same volumes as they can find outside Boston. In the case of my daughter, she's left for Boulder. So we have to rev up the economy, and to do that, again, we need a better educational set of educational outcomes across the board, particularly in our urban areas. Employers want their employees to be happy, and it's hard to be happy if you struggle with how to get your kid the education that you think that they need. Uh, on top of that, we have issues with our infrastructure and a lot of other places where we don't compare great to other places. So we need to address we need to address the educational system. We need to address the economics of our larger cities and towns, which are on shaky economic foundations. We have to have our government working better than it does right now because it doesn't make us look good when things like a bridge collapsing take us by surprise. So there's a whole bunch of things that, very technical term, there's a whole bunch of things that I would need to do as governor immediately together, which can begin to elevate our economy and provide the jobs that everybody needs. But getting right down to the issues here, uh, a lot of it comes down to funding. Obviously, funding is your magic sauce to do the programs that you need to do. You don't have a lot of certainty in our budgets because of the nature of the process. The General Assembly does what they're going to do, usually without us having a lot of ability to change it. So being on the ground, advocating into the General Assembly is crucial. And my job is to make sure that the monies that we're spending is being spent in the best possible way. And I do believe that we can find programs that aren't as effective and we can de-emphasize those programs and add emphasis in the form of money to programs that are showing that they can really work.
Great. Thank you very much. Question two is many budgetary and legislative wins for kids have been the result of strong advocacy from parents, youth, service providers, and advocacy coalitions like the Right from the Start campaign, the Raising Rhode Island Coalition, and many, many more. As governor, you will have many special interests vying for your attention. How will you center the voices, experiences, and priorities of kids and families in Rhode Island?
Yeah. Because I am publicly stating over and over again how critically important I believe educational issues are. I will be front and center in the fight for funding, in the fight for prioritization across the board. It is one of my most important missions. And as I like to tell people, if I can't make a big difference educationally in this state in 4 years, I will feel like I've been a failure as a governor. So that gives you a sense of my prioritization of it and the early childhood elements of it. All of them are crucial. So it's not just the Head Start and the pre-Head Start programs. It's about nutrition. It's about food security. All of these issues that can contribute to ultimately what can be very poor educational outcomes. We have to hit them all well, and we have to give our students the best chance that they have for success. So I am on board with the missions across the board for sure. And really, it's going to, just like almost every topic that we're going to talk about here today, the question is going to be, well, how do you pay for it? Because there's less money coming out of DC, and there are an awful lot of competing priorities within the General Assembly. Uh, I'm de-emphasizing a little bit the governor's role in the budget simply because that's usually ignored once it gets sent across to the General Assembly. I plan on asking for full funding for as many of the social service programs uh, as can be done, especially the ones that make the biggest impacts in the areas I'm most concerned with. Uh, my asking and having it come out of the other end of the process is usually, unfortunately, disconnected. But I'm happy to come in and lend my voice in advocacy along with yours when the time comes to make the case to the General Assembly. It is crucially important. I see some questions about some other of the social service safety net issues, and I'm going to not talk about them here. I'll talk about them. I'll tackle it next. Look, and I talked about the idea about we don't have a lot of it's not a very deterministic process. What I mean by that is you don't really know what's going to happen to your budgetary needs until the General Assembly is done doing what it's done. And in some ways, that makes it almost feel like you don't really have a partner in the process. And I think when it comes to government, historically, you probably haven't. I can tell you again that I will join you in the advocacy for these programs because I know that they work and I know the importance that they have. And if it makes a difference to have the governor sitting alongside you when you make your case, I'm happy to be the one who does and goes and does that with you. All right. So I think what I'm going to do is jump into some of the questions, and I
You
guess I'll
got
just
it.
monitor myself here
There
and
you
try not
go.
to drone on for too long. The first question is right in this area. The question asks about access to SNAP and WIC, that they're in jeopardy. We know food access impacts educational outcomes 100%. What are your plans to address this issue? Yeah, it is a huge one, and I worry that whatever cuts we're looking at now will become sharper as we get deeper into the administration in DC right now. So we have to definitely uh, be aware. We have to look for the money. Look, we have a $15 billion budget. Uh, and I, for one, it's hard. Many people, when I talk about the budget, many people across every different slot, a slice of ideology, every slice of what people do for a living, everyone wonders where all the money goes. And it's hard to, you don't feel like you're often getting your money's worth in the $15 billion budget. Uh, we have to look at the money that we're spending. We have to determine if the money's being well spent. Are we getting the results that we need? And if we aren't, we need to make some changes and we need to move that money to accomplishing more than what the money is doing right now. So, what I can tell you for sure is for the social service safety nets, the crucial ones, the food, the education, we have to find the money for it. I believe the money is there. We have to get into the budget and we have to make these assessments. The other thing that we do poorly is we don't make sense, we don't take advantage of the free money that DC is willing to give us. If we simply spend X, we get multiple times X from the federal government. And to the best that I can figure out, we're leaving a couple of $100 million a year on the table because we don't maximize what we put into the system. We don't get the maximum match. So to me, those are no-brainers, and we should maximize every dollar we can get out of DC. And it's just, for the life of me, I don't understand why we're not maximizing it. So that's a little bit of a picture of how I would go about doing it. Again, the governor's role in this, unfortunately, is more of a cheerleader than setting and keeping the priorities, because once the General Assembly has the budget, the governor's ability to impact it goes largely away. So, but I'm in there in the fight, and I've got to believe we can find the money to make sure that we can keep these necessary programs going. Uh, the next question, a Blue Ribbon Commission on from the Rhode Island Foundation, recommendations for overhauling K through 12. So I haven't read the recommendations, so I can't rattle them off. But let's talk about it and what I believe is happening. And for the districts that struggle the most, they don't all share the same problem. And so a one-size-fits-all solution is the wrong answer in general for our educational challenges, because no two of our urban districts that struggle with the same problem. And what I mean by that is, and in fact, Warwick is an extreme case because it's not really an urban district. Warwick doesn't really have a problem with poverty, and yet Warwick's educational outcomes are pretty miserable compared to a lot of other places. So one of Warwick's big troubles is chronic student absenteeism. So in Warwick, we have to tackle that because by the time their students hit high school, it's at about 25%. Regardless of either high school in Warwick has almost 25% chronic student absenteeism. Pawtucket has a different problem with chronic absenteeism. That one's a teacher one. Nearly 25% of Pawtucket teachers are considered chronically absent by RIDE. And we all know that when you have substitutes coming in for the main teacher, the educational experience declines, and there's plenty of academic studies that talk about that. We have districts that have tremendous poverty who outperform what the level of poverty predicts the educational outcomes should be. And we have other districts where the same level of poverty yields educational outcomes that are substantially worse than what the predicted outcomes should be. So I don't believe that we have a magic series of if we do these 8 things across the board that we're going to fix the problems. We really have very specific problems in each of our troubled districts that we have to get into. And I think we need to get the biggest ones solved first and then see where that leads us to. For sure, if we have districts where students coming out of grade 3 cannot read, that is a problem that must be corrected immediately. I do not want to leave office without having solved the pipeline problem that we have in our educational system, where students get behind and stay and get more behind as they progress through the grades. We have to make sure that every student we can that is capable of doing it comes out of third grade being able to read and having all of the early educational advantages that come along with getting properly educated in K through 3. So that's an answer without getting into the specifics of your question. I apologize about that, Lauren, but I will make a point of looking into what the commission has written, and I'll figure out a way if there's a way I can communicate that out to you once I have. Oh, we're out of questions. How much time do we have?
We have about 8 minutes left. If there's anything that you would like to touch on that you didn't get a chance to mention.
Yeah, there's a lot to touch on, and I encourage any of you, if you have an additional question, please put it out there, and I'll jump right to it. Uh, so I think I've made my case pretty clear about education, and what's interesting is that the board, Bride's board, by March of this coming year, whoever the new governor coming in is, will be able to appoint the majority of the members of that board. Between expired seats and empty seats, uh, the board can be almost immediately constituted in a way that the current whoever the current next governor is going to be, whatever skills, whatever positioning that person wants, will be able to be seated on Ride's board. A majority of people will be appointed immediately by the next governor. So I'm optimistic that Ride can be a stronger player and more empowered to do the things that it needs to do. I look at what happened in Providence with the state takeover of the schools as very much a lost opportunity. I don't think much was accomplished. I don't expect much to be accomplished handing it back to Providence. Uh, I think that we have problems that are best dealt with people with the expertise and the data. And right now, I believe that's really coming out of Ride. So I would have preferred that Providence not have been handed back. Of course, Central Falls remains a real challenge, and it's been under state control for quite a long time. So for both of those districts, I'd like to put together a timetable that has expectations for when we're going to expect to see some real changes and performance improvements. I understand that it's a 16-year process if you really look at the K through 12 educational uh, experience of a young person, because it starts with early childhood, has to progress through all the grades. And if we have children moving through early childhood into K through 3 on grade, then we have a much better chance of them graduating as a senior with senior level skills. So we have to fix the pipeline at the beginning and move all the way through it. I wish it wasn't going to take 16 years to fully solve the problems that we have with our educational outcomes, but it's super hard, as we all know. It's very hard to remediate the after effects of a poor education. We're much better off spending our time, energy, and money making sure the educational outcomes are the way we need them, as opposed to trying to work with adults after the fact and give them the skills they didn't acquire while they were students. That's a much harder, more difficult road for us to follow uh, than doing it the better way. Uh, and without any other questions, I'll just jump into a couple of the other issues that are priorities for my campaign, will be priorities for myself as governor. I talked about shaky municipal finances. We really do have that. $1.5 billion of unfunded liabilities in Warwick. It's a shockingly large number per person, and Warwick's not doing much to fix that problem. Providence has a similar problem. Uh, we don't have hardly any discretionary budget in those communities, and they're racking up the debt. And businesses look at this, residents look at it, and they're worried. So fixing the municipal finance problems of our shakiest communities, Warwick, Cranston, Johnston, uh, Providence, Pawtucket, Woonsocket, East Providence to a slightly lesser extent, has to happen, and the state has plenty of powers available to it to ensure that that these communities get themselves on a better track. And my plan is to use those powers as sparingly as possible, but I will use them if we don't see some motion on that. I did get a question, an ongoing mental health crisis, especially for kids. Do you have any specific plans on how to address this? So I don't. I am not well versed in mental health issues. I obviously know that they're out there. I know that Rhode Island uh, historically hasn't done a great job in the mental health arena. We do have programs in place. We do have specialized hospitals in place. Uh, and I don't. I'm sorry. I like to think I have lots of answers about lots of different things, but that question is not one that I have a lot of onboard statistics and knowledge about. I apologize. Uh, but again, that's something that I'm more than happy to look into. Uh, and if you have the inclination to give me a couple of sentences about what the biggest areas are that you're aware of in the mental health area, that would be helpful for me. Uh, so we talked about the municipal finances. Uh, the management layers of Rhode Island government have many of them have quit. They've gotten fed up, and we have lost a lot of institutional knowledge in the operation of government. Uh, One of the things that I will be doing is I'm going to be bringing back into government people who have been very high up, some director level people, director level individuals, and others. Uh, to help stabilize things, to bring the knowledge back that we need to have back, and most importantly, train and hire their replacements. Uh, the problems that we have throughout our government can't be addressed just with one person sitting in the governor's seat. We need a whole bunch of ideas and accomplished managers pulling together to fix the problems that we have. And when it comes to the DOT, we have to replace the entire management layer because that agency didn't do its job. And we need to make sure that doesn't happen there again. And that's what I would do. And then I see we're just about wrapped up. And to just close, I know that there are many, many problems. There's tons of budget challenges that are coming our way. And what Rhode Island needs is somebody who's going to be a hands-on governor, is going to get into the weeds on these issues, is going to understand the budgetary issues, has the drive, has the access to the answers for a lot of what's broken, and most importantly, will dive in and want to fix them. I want to fix the problems that we have. We have a beautiful state. We're much better than what our government has been providing to us right now, and I'm hopeful that I can make the difference and try to solve some of the government problems that are tripping us up. Thank you, everybody, for putting up with me today. I appreciate it, and hopefully, I gave you lots of food for thought.
Thank you so much, Mr. Block, for joining us for this meet and greet. And to the audience, thank you so much for joining us for your great questions. You can learn more about Ken Block at his website, which is blockforgovernor.com. And we hope that you will join us for our next meet and greet at 2 o'clock today with Jay Gotra. And we have two more candidates on Thursday. So please come back and join us. Also, the candidate survey responses that I mentioned earlier will be released on Monday, August 24th. So you can hear more about Mr. Block's ideas through that survey results. So please stay tuned. And also remember to vote. Early voting begins on August 20th. The primaries are September 9th, and the general election is November 3rd. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.